Okay, so we're going to continue on with the march through our water-soluble vitamins. We've got a couple of vitamin B vitamins left to go. The first one that we'll talk about is biotin. And so again, as we've seen with all of our other B vitamins, biotin is also going to function as a coenzyme. It's going to be required for the function of several different enzymes. In this case, these enzymes are involved in adding carbon dioxide to various compounds, and this process is going to be required for the metabolism, again, of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So we see that these are coenzymes, again, involved in metabolism, energy metabolism, okay? Rich sources, you can see our table over here. Some of these, again, are going to be fortified, and some of them are naturally occurring. So whole grains, we can see down here wheat germ, eggs, nuts, peanuts are shown here. They're a great source, as well as some meats. Okay, so fish, for example, here, salmon, and then we've got some chicken sources. Chicken liver is really high, so our chicken nuggets. Okay, again, just like we saw on the previous one that we looked at, there isn't an RDA, hasn't been, we don't have that number. Instead, we just have an AI. So again, adequate intake is around 30 micrograms per day for adult men and women. It's the same. There is no upper limit for biotin. Any excess that we take in gets excreted in urine. And also bacteria in our large intestines actually synthesize biotin. We're not exactly sure how much of a contribution this biotin makes, if it's absorbed there or not. Again, the research is kind of still happening there. And here too, deficiency is rare. Okay, there's enough food sources, and our requirements daily are low enough where we usually meet them. Okay, on to vitamin B6. So again, still in our vitamin Bs. And so for this one, we usually just refer to it as vitamin B6, but it is also known as pyridoxine. Okay, and again, this is a coenzyme. So we've seen this for all of our B vitamins. It is a coenzyme required for pretty much all amino acid metabolism. Good sources, you can see here, enriched cereals, meat, fish, poultry, and starchy vegetables, and there are other examples on here as well. The RDA, so this has an RDA for adult men and women up to age 50 is 1.3 milligrams per day. Above 50, it goes up to 1.7 milligrams per day, and again, for other age groups, it's going to be different. There is an upper limit of 100 milligrams per day. Okay, and so again, when we see toxicity here, it's going to be from severe oversupplementation. Eating your average diet, you are not going to consume enough for it to be a problem. But again, if you are taking supplements or food sources that are fortified, you do have to kind of be careful. So again, severe oversupplementation can result in nerve damage. Lower amounts can result in less severe neurological symptoms like hand and foot tingling and numbness. But again, when you get up to those severe levels, you'll end up with actual nerve damage. Okay, how about deficiency? So there is toxicity. Again, you have to consume large amounts. And then deficiency. Deficiencies are pretty rare. Again, it's a vitamin found in a variety of food sources, but it does happen. Again, 10% of the population in the United States may suffer from vitamin B deficiencies. So symptoms may include seborrheic dermatitis. And so pictured here, you can see this infant has what you may know more commonly as cradle cap. Okay, and so this flaky, that's usually a flaky, oily skin problem. It can be found on other areas of the body as well, but again, you may be familiar with cradle cap. This may be caused from a vitamin B6 deficiency. Not all cradle cap is caused by that. There are other things that can cause it. Okay, but this is one of the things that may cause it. Vitamin B6 deficiency can also result in anemia, convulsions, depression, confusion. So again, some neurological stuff as well. Okay. And I wanted to put this in here, although the research is still out. You know, I kind of like to talk about studies that are being done. Vitamin B6 has been a kind of a long-term potential treatment for things like carpal tunnel, PMS, so premenstrual syndrome, and nausea during pregnancy. And again, more research is needed here to determine if this vitamin is actually beneficial or not. Is it the placebo effect, that kind of a thing? So the research is still out, but there are people that use vitamin B6 for these types of things. Okay, so we're on to folate. And so folate is a really important B vitamin. It's involved in DNA replication, so DNA synthesis. It's also involved in cell division, and this is especially important during early embryonic development. So we'll talk about that in just a second. It's also involved in amino acid metabolism, and it's involved in the synthesis of some neurotransmitters. Good sources, again, you can kind of look at this chart for yourself, but just to pick out a few, liver, is that correct? Maybe I meant to say lentils. I don't know. Legumes, so lentils, black beans, those are good sources, as well as leafy green vegetables. So we can see spinach is on here, as well as turnip greens, and then enriched cereal. So you can see Life cereal here meets, you know, it's 110% of your daily value. So that's kind of neat. The RDA is 400 micrograms per day for both adult men and women. And over supplementation can lead to issues, and so there is an upper limit placed on here of 1,000 micrograms per day. Okay, taking folate before, so if you're planning on getting pregnant, so before as well as during pregnancy, is really, really important. It's going to prevent neural tube defects. So let me just talk about this a little bit. So first of all, the neural tube is going to be the structure that becomes the brain and spinal cord. Okay, so really, really important structure. A neural tube defect is going to be the result of the neural tube not closing properly. And this can happen between the 3rd and 4th weeks of pregnancy. Okay, and again, it can have pretty catastrophic results. So let's look at the next slide. And so what's being shown here is a healthy spine. And so you can see this is the vertebra. In the center here is the spinal cord, which is surrounded by spinal fluid. Okay, and the vertebra wraps around this side as well. Here is skin on our back. Okay, and that's kind of the normal, you know, condition. If there is a neural tube defect, and you can see this baby has this structure on its back. What is that? And so neural tube defect, so we would still have our vertebral column would be, you know, relatively normal here, but you can see it doesn't close here. And so here's our spinal cord, and then we have our spinal fluid, and this structure called the meninges, this is a membrane that surrounds both our brain and spinal cord. You can see that this is protruding, you know, out of the back of the vertebra, and it's actually protruding out of the skin. And so this structure that you see on the outside is going to be the meninges with spinal fluid, you know, protruding. And there are different levels of this. there are different levels that of this protrusion. And so again, this is called spina bifida. Okay. And again, this is an issue, again, low folate can lead to these neural tube defects. Okay. And so again, with spinal bifida, which is being shown here, there's an incomplete closing of the spinal column. And therefore you get this bulging. And again, there are different levels of this. You know, severe levels can lead to complete paralysis. They can lead to, you know, mobility issues. It could lead to bowel and bladder dysfunction. Okay. There is another condition that can be the result of these neural tube defects called anencephaly. In this case, major portions of the brain and skull don't form. And so usually when that happens, that results in death of the fetus. So usually a stillborn or a baby that doesn't survive very long, you know, days, maybe weeks. Okay, so folate is extremely important before and during pregnancy, especially those early, you know, weeks of pregnancy. And again, why? It is involved in DNA synthesis. It is involved in cell division, you know, in early embryonic stages. Okay. Vitamin B12. Okay. This, I believe, is our last vitamin B. Yeah, this is our last one. So vitamin B12. Only source of vitamin B12 is from animal products or fortified foods. Okay. And so you can see here, you know, you've got meat, soy. Oh, this is kind of cut off. Sorry. So meat, eggs, you know, roast beef, oysters, liver, milk products. And then again, soy, raisin bran, those are going to be fortified. Okay. The RDA for this is 2.4 micrograms per day. And again, there is no upper limit. Let's talk about functions. Okay. So vitamin B12 contains the mineral cobalt as part of its structure, which is kind of neat. We will do minerals in the next couple of chapters. Our last 2 chapters coming up are on minerals. Vitamin B12 is part of a coenzyme, as we've been seeing, a coenzyme that's really important for blood formation. It's also required for nerve function. It's required for homocysteine, which is a type of amino acid breakdown, and the formation of another amino acid called methionine. If you are deficient in it, it can result in low energy, fatigue, shortness of breath. It can lead to a form of anemia called pernicious anemia. This is deficiency from malabsorption. So you might be eating foods that are rich in vitamin B12, but for whatever reason in your small intestines, you are not absorbing it. And so if you don't have it, your red blood cells are not going to form or not form properly. Okay, so you can see in this picture here, this is the shape and structure of normal red blood cells. And you can see red blood cells of an individual who is going to be deficient in vitamin B12. You can see that the red blood cells are larger, and they're also going to be immature, and they're not going to function properly. This results in you know, a decreased amount of nutrients being delivered to the cells and tissues of your body, which can result in low energy, fatigue, again, shortness of breath, and there also can actually be neurological symptoms as well. So it's pretty dangerous. There are certain groups of individuals that are going to be more prone to vitamin B12 deficiency. So the first group is the elderly. And in elderly people, for a variety of reasons, there can be impaired absorption of vitamin B12. Some examples of why this might be, you know, elderly people might be on medications that inhibit the absorption of vitamin B12. Elderly people also tend to have lower stomach acid produced, and stomach acid is required for vitamin B12 to be released from protein found in our food. The elderly may also produce lower amounts of something called intrinsic factor, which is required for vitamin B12 to be absorbed. So again, there's a multitude of different reasons, but as we age, we tend to have a lowered ability to absorb vitamin B12. There are also malabsorption syndromes that can cause, individuals who aren't just old to not absorb vitamin B12 well. Okay. And so to get around that, some individuals will have monthly injections of vitamin B12. There's also nasal gels that have vitamin B12 that can be used, or again, oral supplementation. Another group that can suffer from deficiencies are vegetarians and vegans. Again, because vitamin B12, if you're not getting it from an animal source, and you're not getting it from a supplement of some sort, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then you can end up with deficiency. And then infants born to or breastfed by vegetarian or vegan mothers. Okay, same idea. There's no source of vitamin B12 in these individuals' diets, again, unless they're eating a fortified product like a soy product. Okay, choline. So choline is not vitamin B or vitamin C, which we're going to get to in just a second, but choline is very important. What is it important for? It's important for the structure of our cell membranes. And so cell membranes surround every cell in our body. Choline is required for proper cell membrane structure. It's also important for proper nervous system and liver function. Again, it's not a vitamin, but it is an essential micronutrient, so we've included it here. There isn't an RDA for this, but there is an AI, so again, an adequate intake. 450 milligrams per day for women. For men, it's going to be 550 milligrams per day. There is an upper limit. Again, very high doses of this. You have to have extremely high doses. So 3.5 grams per day. Again, you're probably not going to be getting that from just your diet. If you do consume really high doses, that is associated with fishy body odor, low blood pressure, vomiting, salivation, sweating, and gastrointestinal effects. Okay. Common sources here, again, animal products like meat, eggs, milk, can also be found in grains, nuts, veggies, and fruits. Okay, so again, a wide variety of food where you can get choline from. And we're on to our last. We'll fit it right in this video. We're going to talk about vitamin C here. Okay, so again, we went through all the B vitamins, we touched on choline, and we'll end with vitamin C. So again, another water-soluble vitamin required. Okay, so the RDA for men is 90 milligrams per day. The RDA for women is 75 milligrams per day. Smokers need more. Smokers need an extra 35 milligrams per day. Okay, and smokers' absorption can be impaired, and there are other reasons for this. There is an upper limit to vitamin C, and we'll talk about why in just a second. It's 2 grams per day. Okay, sources, lots of sources for vitamin C. Fresh fruits and vegetables, especially citrus fruits. One thing to note about vitamin C is cooking can destroy the vitamin C. So you want to make sure that you're having, some of these foods raw. Okay. Okay, functions. What does vitamin C do? Lots of stuff. We've got lots of data here. Vitamin C protects against airborne pollutants. It has a role in the synthesis of collagen. It prevents the disease scurvy, which you may have heard of. It's an antioxidant. It enhances immune system function. However, over-supplementation beyond one's needs does not improve immune function. So kind of keep that in mind. And so, it's important to note that, having adequate amounts, amounts that meet our daily values for vitamin C is important for immune system function, right? And so, you know, could vitamin C prevent the common cold? Sure, if your immune system function, you know, is at its highest, your immune system is more likely to fight off viruses and microorganisms, and so the common cold is caused by a virus. And so sure, it could, you know, having proper amounts of vitamin C could help prevent you from getting the common cold. However, you know, once you have, you know, contracted the common cold and you are suffering from symptoms of the common cold, there is not evidence to show that taking mega doses of vitamin C is going to shorten the duration of your common cold. You know, again, taking adequate amounts of vitamin C to make sure your immune system is functioning properly is important, but sometimes individuals will take these mega doses, and again, there is no research that supports that it's going to lessen the duration. Okay, and in fact, we'll talk about mega doses of vitamin C and why that's a problem on the next slide. Okay, so what else? Enhances the absorption of iron. It's a cofactor for the synthesis of many amino acids, some hormones, and some neurotransmitters. It has been shown to maybe, again, research is still kind of out there, prevent some forms of cancer, maybe prevent cardiovascular disease. And so again, more research is needed on those last two. Okay. What if you have too much? Okay. So individuals who overconsume, and again, mega doses of vitamin C are usually going to come from supplements. Okay. If you're just having oranges, you know, you're probably not going to consume enough vitamin C for it to be a mega dose. But if you are having supplements, drinks, or you know, pills that have high amounts of vitamin C in them, and you consume a mega dose, that can actually cause nausea, diarrhea, and nosebleeds. Okay, so we gotta use, you know, common sense and be careful there. What if you don't consume enough vitamin C? Well, that can result in scurvy. Okay, which is something that we said on the previous slide. Vitamin C prevents. And so scurvy is going to result in bleeding gums, loose teeth, weakness. And so, again, in individuals that don't consume enough vitamin C, they have low collagen production. And so collagen is required to maintain healthy skin, healthy blood vessels, healthy bones, healthy gums, healthy connective tissue. And so here, you know, bleeding gums, loose teeth, that's going to be related to poor collagen production. In these pictures here, what we're seeing are pinpoint hemorrhages. And so again, this is an issue with blood vessels. And again, it relates back to collagen. And so you end up seeing this bruising on the skin surface or even in the back of the throat here. This used to be known as kind of like the pirate's disease. So back in the 16th to 18th centuries, pirates were known to get scurvy. And again, it's because they didn't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So again, sources of vitamin C, and so they would suffer from this. And also, if you don't consume enough vitamin C, your immune system suffers, and so there's a greater risk, again, for many cancers. And that is the end of this chapter. So again, you're going to fill out your notes, submit those, and then go on to use the notes to help you through the assessment packet.